5 millionaire habits that changed my life. I tried so many things to change my life. I got so much advice from so many different people, but it really all boiled down to just 5 simple things. I'm gonna share with you exactly what they are, so you can do it too. Let's go.
Noel. Yeah, she can fix that. If you gotta get it done, no, you need to do it better. Well, she can fix that. Yeah, she can fix that. Investment to get back, trying to get a big stack. She can fix that. Let's fix that.
I'm gonna share with you 5 simple habits that changed my life from living in my parents' basement to a multi-millionaire. I'm gonna share with you my secret way to never have a bad day ever again. And I'm gonna share with you the #1 thing that my billionaire mentor taught me that now gets me money every single day. So let's talk about why being a millionaire is so awesome, because I need you to know that there really is some definitions that people are using absolutely wrong. I'm gonna tell you the real definition so that you can see why this is really awesome. So like I said, you may hear people on YouTube, Instagram, different social media, TikTok, talking about that they are a millionaire. And Noel really is a millionaire because there's 3 definitions. And I'm not saying that all of these people are not telling the truth. Many of them probably are, because it's really not that difficult to be a millionaire. That's the first thing. I think we think that millionaire is this really difficult thing, or it's this really big feat, it's this big mountain to climb, and it's really not true. There are 3 basic definitions of a millionaire. #1, if you have $1 million in cash, you're a millionaire. Now again, that's probably the least way you want to be a millionaire, because if you have $1 million in cash, like in a checking account or a savings account, you're probably not making any money with that money. But if you have $1 million in cash, boom, you're a millionaire. So that's the first definition. The second definition, and this is the one that I was most interested in when I started, that was in having assets that equaled out to $1 million. So like I said, I started in my parents' basement, and I just wanted some real estate that equaled $1 million, because the guy that was mentoring me, he had tons of properties and he was a millionaire. He had properties that he didn't owe any money on. He had some properties where maybe it was worth $200,000 and he only owed $100,000. And the easy way to become a millionaire is through real estate. For example, if you have 10 little small properties all worth $100,000, you're a millionaire. And again, just 10. If you have 5 properties that are worth $200,000 and you don't owe anything on them, boom, you're a millionaire. Or you could have properties that are valued at $300,000 or $400,000, and depending on what you owe on them, you could be a millionaire. So all you're doing is taking the value of those properties minus what you owe on them, and then you will be a millionaire in net worth. And that is actually an awesome thing to do, and it is a very achievable goal for most people. I know it sounds super far-fetched, but it really isn't difficult to get a few properties and really have a net worth of $1 million. And that is the first way that I became a millionaire. And the third definition is by making more than $1 million a year. So I broke this down, and I've shared with you this before. I had a goal where I wanted to make $1 million in a year, and I divided that number by 12, and it came out to be $83,333.33 a month. And in the beginning, when I had this goal, it seemed astronomical. Even at the time when I was making, I think maybe $10,000 or $12,000 per month, making $83,000 a month every single month just seemed really difficult for me, but it's not. So now that you know the 3 definitions, know that I have achieved millionaire status by all 3 definitions. I literally make more than $1 million per year. I literally have properties that are valued at over $1 million when you take away the mortgages that are owed on them. And I have $1 million, spread out through different accounts. Again, not in my checking account, because that's stupid. So I reached millionaire status on all 3 of these levels, so my life is pretty easy. Again, if you have real estate that's bringing you in money, if you're making $1 million a year, if you have $1 million, spread out through different accounts and IRAs, it's a very easy life. So this is why you want to do it. You don't want to struggle and strive. You don't want to be stressed. You really want to own your time and have the money to do whatever it is that you want to do. So there's so many benefits to becoming a millionaire on any of those definitions. But let's start, like I said, with the one that I started with, which was getting $1 million in property, and then the second, making $1 million per year. Those are the 2 easiest ones, and that is what I'm going to talk to you next on how to get there. And I'm going to give you those 5 habits right now, from worst to best. I'm saving the best for last, guys. So millionaire habit #1 that changed my life. was looking at my finances. I've talked to so many successful people, and it is really the reason why I am successful. I needed to talk and learn from people that had made a lot of money, that had been successful in business, and had achieved things that I had not achieved before. And they gave me some awesome advice, guidance, and tools and tips on how to be successful. And one of the habits that I knew I needed to adopt was I needed to start checking my finances. I needed to look at my finances every single day. Now, this was really difficult because there were times when obviously I had lots of money in my checking account and there was times when I didn't. So I had kind of gotten the habit where I did not like logging into my checking account and looking at my finances on a regular basis. But the problem with that is you're not going to change them. If you're afraid to look and you don't even want to look over there, or you don't talk about money and all of this other stuff, then you're not going to have any. So that was like the first habit. I had to start checking my finance. I had to start tracking my expenses, tracking my spending, knowing when people, broke into my account, for example. I had people, doing fraudulent charges on my debit card and things like that, because I needed to start checking to see if that happened. And some of these things were happening, and because I wasn't checking, I had lost money. But if you start checking your finances and getting a handle on your money, this is the first habit. You cannot be afraid to look at your account. You can't be afraid to know how much money you make. You can't be afraid to know how much money you spend and all of this other stuff. You have to get good with your money. You don't care about other people's bank account. You don't care about what's going on in someone else's job or their income. You need to worry about you. So with me, I had to start with me. I had to get all of those apps on my phone, the Wells Fargo and the Bank of America, and I had to start checking my account. I had to start having those logins and alerts come to me. I had to start seeing where I was spending. I had 2 different Netflix accounts, for example. I didn't even know I had some of these duplicate expenses. And every millionaire that I talked to, they had no problem talking about money. They knew how much money they made, and they definitely knew how much money they spent. Get comfortable with your money if you want to be a millionaire. That's the first habit. Let's get to number 2. Habit number 2, earn more money. I had to get out of this idea that I was going to save my way to rich. As I was talking to all of these wealthy people, these wealthy entrepreneurs, these millionaires, multimillionaires, they earned a lot of money, okay? There's no way that you're gonna be a millionaire and you only make, $300 or $200 a week and all this other stuff. You really have to start saying, I am worth more money. I am going to be worth more money, and I am going to bring value so that I can earn more money. You bring value and you will earn more money. So I had to start working on, how do I bring more value? How do I earn more money? Instead of focusing on cutting back and, shrinking my life, I started to look this way. How could I make more money? How could I earn more money? How could I bring more value? How could I get more clients? How could I create multiple streams of income? How could I earn more? Don't spend less, earn more. That was the number 2 habit that I really had to get under my belt. I had to not have a problem with earning money and keeping it. I had to start checking with my accountant and have them doing my taxes and finding what loopholes and things that I was eligible for and what tax breaks and what write-offs I could do. I had to earn more money and keep it. And all of these rich people that I were talking to, they were high earners, and they told me to become one also. Habit number 3, and this is so important. I had to invest in me. Yes, I know so many times people say invest, 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 but they never really tell you what you should be investing in. We hear about Bitcoin and Forex and real estate and the stock market and all of these things we should be investing in. But everyone that I talked to that was a millionaire told me I needed to invest in me. I needed to start looking at me and up-leveling myself. Like I said, in the previous habit, I needed to earn more money, so I needed to bring more value. And in doing that, I had to invest in me so that I was worth more money, so that I could know more things and bring value to people. If I stayed at the same level that I was and I didn't invest in me and start bettering myself, I wouldn't be able to earn more money. I needed to go to classes, go to courses, go to events, go to conferences, go to seminars. Again, invest in me. Not saying that I had to spend a lot of money. You could read books, you could listen to podcasts, you could watch videos like this and start learning. There's tons of free information out there. You could start paying for things. You could go to college, you could go to university, you could learn from a mentor. Again, I'm not telling you how you have to do this, but I'm telling you, you will have to do this. This is so important. Invest in me. Invest in you. That is the important thing. That is a habit that cannot be replaced, and that is truly a millionaire habit that most people that are not millionaires do not have. Most people that don't have money, they mock people that invest in themselves. I remember when I paid my mentor $20,000, and again, I was literally living in my parents' basement, trying to go to school full time. I had 2 kids, 1 on the way. My husband was working like this crappy job. We lived with my parents. Things were awful. And during that time, that's when I got a coach. Most people told me, do not do that. That is the stupidest thing. Don't pay anybody to learn anything. And that was the smartest thing that I ever did. I literally learned how to make money. Meanwhile, I was at the University of Connecticut learning how to do a task for a company. I wasn't actually learning how to turn that knowledge into money. And when I started investing in me, I learned how to turn that knowledge into money. Number 4, and I know you've heard this before, but it is so true, guys. Read. Number 4 habit, I had to start reading. No more TV, no more news, no more Simpsons show. I literally had to read a book a week. I needed to catch up. And not only did I need to read, I needed to start reading things that would open my mind, that would teach me how to make money, that would teach me how to build my business, not just mystery books or love books or romance novels. I needed to read books that would fill my mind with the content that I needed to be a millionaire. I started asking my millionaire mentors, what books do you read? What books have you read? And here's the funny thing, guys. They all had read like the same books. They were all saying the same books. I mean, people that were in mortgages, people that were in construction, people that own, plumbers, like successful plumbers. I even met this billionaire who owns a security firm. He was telling me these same books. Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon, just books that fed my mind on the fact that I could be a millionaire and that I needed to focus on myself and that there was abundance out there. There was no scarcity. There was no poverty that I needed to focus on. There was this abundance mindset that I needed to embrace. And those books taught me that. I had to read 52 books in 1 year. I read 1 book a week for an entire year. That was what my mentor was doing, so I started doing the same thing. And in order to be able to write books, I needed to read books. So I've made a ton of money now writing books because I've read so many books. So reading was an inexpensive way that really opened up my mind. I was able to retain the information. I loved highlighting things that they said. I would read it and then I would write it in my notebook, great quotes that I heard. Reading really does make you a millionaire. I've never heard of a millionaire that doesn't read a book. So I'm telling you, start reading is super important, and what you read does matter. Habit number 5, my morning routine. My morning routine is not just a habit. It is a ritual, guys. It is a ritual. And so it's not just one thing that I do in the morning. In fact, I've made an entire video. I will link that to you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you're not missing this content anyway. Make sure you like this video and click that little notification bell so you don't miss any of this content that I'm bringing to you every single day. But again, I made an entire video breaking down my morning routine and you should watch that. But just to give you some quick breakdowns, a morning routine is a habit. You have to wake up in the morning with a routine, with a ritual. Every millionaire, billionaire, multimillionaire that I talked to, they all had one and they told me some tips and I just copied them. I wake up in the morning and I journal, I do my meditation, I say my affirmations, I, don't talk on the phone, I don't read my emails. I have a morning routine and that changed my life. How you start your day and the intentions that you set for the day are so important. That is really what took me from 0 to millionaire in this short amount of time. I got super focused and I had a routine that I followed. And focus beats intelligence, guys. If you focus in on something and you have a routine, you will be successful. A committed man cannot fail. So get your morning routine and stick to it because it's life-changing. So I have created an entire book where I have poured my heart into teaching you guys my true story and giving you worksheets and downloads and tips and checklists on all of these things to create $1 million. The book, Real Estate Millionaire Secrets, is available now either on pre-order or for order, and it's absolutely free. Go to Noelle's free book, that's Noelle, Noelles, free, Free, book, book, 𝗏𝗏𝗡freebook.com. Reading changed my life, and it was one of the important habits that made me a millionaire. So I've read so many books, and I've written a book teaching it and just laying it all out for you in a quick and easy manual, and I'm making it so easy for you to get, making it absolutely free. You just pay for shipping and handling at 𝗏𝗏𝗡freebook.com. I want to make sure that you have all of the resources, all of the tools, and all of the knowledge that you need to be successful. This is Noelle, to your success.